Hello and welcome to our program Violence Free World. My name is Cally Ikpe as we continue our quest for a violence-free Nigeria. My guest on the program today is a veteran lawyer, politician, activist if you like, and particularly the convener of COUNTRYFIRST Nigeria, Professor Chris Nwaokobia.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Welcome to our program.
My pleasure.
Yeah, before we fire the first sample, let's just take this special report. I'll be right back on the flip side.
Nigeria is regarded as the most populous black nation in the world. This West African country has a population of about 200 million people, and its citizens, who are multi-ethnic and multilingual, practice mostly Islam and Christianity. This former British colony is ranked as the 6th largest producer of crude oil in the world, just as it is rich in agriculture and solid minerals. Nigeria's journey to nationhood, like many others, has been characterized by good and bad incidents. A peep at our route to nationhood points at the 1966 coup as the most dramatic incident. It led to the Civil War of 1967. Where millions of lives were lost and properties worth billions destroyed. While efforts at genuine reconciliation have continued, terror merchants with motives that are political, religious, and monetary have for a considerable while continued to visit mayhem on the citizens. The hallmarks of the present terror adventure are the insurgency in the northeast of Nigeria, the banditry in the northwest, herdsman crisis in the north-central and southwest Nigeria, and most recently, the southeast is beginning to experience what looks like the Borno-based insurgency in its nascence. Violence has therefore become a common denominator across Nigeria. Fear is palpable. Many citizens are beginning to wonder if the situation is hopeless. The reality, however, in certain parts of Nigeria elicits hope. Many analysts will readily cite the calm in the Niger Delta region after a near-total war and the reversal in status in Kogi State as a former Boko Haram training and IED-making haven as strong pointers that the reign of terror is surmountable. Efforts at restoring peace in Nigeria have been championed by many patriots on different fronts. The late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua is particularly still revered for his efforts at ending militancy in the Niger Delta region.
I and my people, we accept the amnesty.
In the same vein, the late Lieutenant Colonel Abu Ali's memory will remain indelible in the hearts of Nigerians for leading his battalion to fight the Boko Haram in the northeast. But perhaps more significant is Governor Yahya Bello's successes in crushing insecurity, which not only evokes admiration from Nigerians, but provides sorely needed inspiration for other overwhelmed leaders and a template on how to manage insecurity that is scalable. Kogi is arguably the safest state in Nigeria as of today.
Welcome back. Now, Prof, let's go straight to the issues. happenings around countries ranked along Nigeria, like Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, does not give much hope, or rather portends even much more fear if we're going to be able to get out of this reign of terror anytime soon. Do you see any arrow of hope?
First, it bothers carapace of my mind to think of the fact that our nation is oftentimes ranked along with countries like Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, sometimes Pakistan, and then perhaps, sadly, sometimes Afghanistan. And then you wonder why a country, a few years ago, that was largely peaceful, largely progressive, largely united, should be so ranked. We agree that over the years we have had a nation that is checkered by violence, banditry, villainy, conflict and the likes. But I also think that sometimes it's often somewhat exaggerated. That is not to say that we're not bothered by the fact that we have marauding herdsmen, by the fact that we have killer bandits everywhere, by the fact that we have terrorists doing villainy and harm to the Nigerian people. But I want to align with one of the inimitable quotes of the sage Obafemi Awolowo, who said that hope is the last milk in the human breast. We have heard platitudes from government, and we had Mr. President say every so often that they will do the best to helm in the bandits and the terrorists. I have confidence that at some point this will be history. I have confidence that if as a nation and as a people we work concertedly at it, we perhaps may be able to deal with it. Because there are a few states where you have seen the political actors doing the best they can to helm in the banditry and the villainy and the tyranny. And if you like, terrorism. A few years ago, the state of Kogi had an IED, a bomb-making factory for Boko Haram. A few months away from the 2023 elections, the challenge and the discourse is different, because we have a young man who's there, who's in everything to put security as a matter of primacy. Interestingly, as you and I talk, Kogi State with 9 state borders and the Federal Capital Territory, that's 10 borders, is about the safest in the north and the second safest in the country. So I think that through concerted effort, proactive action, commitment and dedication, our nation will be able to deal with issues of tyranny, terrorism, banditry, violence and the likes.
Yeah, you're hinting at efforts to curtail all of this now. Why it seemed like the present situation overwhelms the leadership? People are already jostling to take over the affairs of our nation come 2023. I'm referring to the presidency. And I recall that sometime in 2011, you had actually attempted to become president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Right now, people are making declarations, indicating, and all I can see, it's like Chris Nwaokobia is not interested. But all you hear you say, it looks very much like you are aligned with a young man, Yahya Bello. Please, what is the attraction?
Let me say clearly that we're at a point in our history when people have to become more realistic, more empirical, more dispassionate, and if you like, more committed to the values that they hold dear. I ran for president at the age of 39 to be 40 before the elections in 2011. I committed so much of time and resources to it. Cally, it might interest you to know that about 11 years after, I'm yet to recover from the pain and the hole it did put in my pocket, if you like. To make posters alone cost me about 300 million in 2011. And since then, it hasn't been the same. I thought about what is proper Triton right. I found a young man. He represents over the state of Kogi. He governs from the Lugard House in Lokoja. Who's passionate, who's committed, who's dedicated, who believes in the green, white, green, who is beyond the ethnocentric biases of creed and clan, who thinks that we all belong together and who thinks that the green, white, green can soar again. I found a young man who is committed to service. I found a young man who believes in youth inclusiveness. I found a young man who believes that together with women, we can redeem our country. I found a young man who believes that the values and leadership must be reworked in our country. And I found a young man who also has a competence in terms of the wherewithal. And I found a young man who has ideas and who is 21st century compliant. And rather than engage in a presidential race without resources, I thought that it's only right to support a man who believes in the same things that you believe. And in the young man who pretends over the state of Kogi at 46, and he's doing a second term, I find a sink in values. And I want to say clearly, Cally, that oftentimes beer parlor tales tends to diminish him. But concrete facts and figures tells you that you have a young man who inherited a state that was disparate and troubled. A state that had IED factories for Boko Haram. A state that was troubled, rummaged, and tyrannized by villains and bandits. You had a state that wasn't working. You had a state that was owing about 50 months of salary when this young man became governor.
50.
And then 6 years down the line, after an extensive biodata and forensic assessment of a workforce, he's not owing salaries in Kogi. Cally, he has a cabinet whose average age stands at 42. Cally, he dwarfs Rwanda in gender parity. In the state of Kogi, you have all the councils, about 21 local governments. You have all the councils with female speakers. You have all the councils with female vice chairmen. You have the longest serving female secretary to the state government. Cally, as you and I talk, you have an ADC, the only state governor who has an ADC who's a woman. And that's gender parity, in congruence with the realities of the 21st century, in congruence with the realities of now, in congruence with the urgency of now, in congruence with the expectations of the United Nations in the Millennium Development Goals. And that's exactly what we're looking for in the 21st century. And having found a young man who believes that we must bring our nation to terms with global realities, I have decided to side with him. I have decided to subsume my personal aspiration in his. I have decided to say to every Nigerian who thinks for progress and for the greatness of our country, to come along. If you like, Cally, let's use him. If you like, let's support him. If you like, let's work with him. If you like, let's, using the street language, let's ginger him to that redemptive reality that our country needs. And that's why I ain't running for presidency come 2023.
Okay, let's see how achievable this is now. Now, again, let's look at this issue of zoning, even as it affects him too, as it pertains to fairness. Yahya Bello, himself a northerner, looking to take over from another northern president in 2023. What does that spell for the rest of the region who haven't had a go at it a very long while?
Interestingly, Cally, this question is very apt for a country that is torn by a lot of sentiments and biases, prejudices that are so strong. And when you try to subject them to the crucible of debate, you almost end up laughing. Cally, the United States of America has a democracy that's about almost 300 years old. The North in the United States of America has produced almost all the presidents, but the South has done just about 3 presidents from the South. And that's not the issue in America. The issue is about competency, capacity, and service delivery. Cally, as you and I talk, the North has produced most of the leaders of this country, and the North is a poverty capital. I don't want to say Nigeria, really, because the truth is what I'm about to put before you, Cally. The North is a poverty capital of the world. We're still struggling to totally and effectively say to the world that there's no polio in the North. That's how bad it is. In rural India, there's no polio. Cally, as you and I talk, the out-of-school children ratio in the northern part of the country is worse than anywhere in the world. They have produced presidents. Cally, for me, the debate is not about the ethnicity, the region, the zone of President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The denominator should be about competency and capacity, Cally. What is important, Cally, in tandem with the realities of a highly progressive world, is about competency, capacity, passion, and commitment, rather than about zone, ethnicity, or about creed.
Complicity from very high quarters, something we choose to call corporate conspiracy, is very much on our mind and part of what we should be discussing. But that will be when we return from this break. My name is Cally Ikpe. This is Violence Free World. We'll be right back after this time out. Welcome back. This is Violence Free World. I'm Prof. Let's get back to business. Let's speak to this issue of complicity from very high quarters. Even the president in the recent broadcast had hinted at that when he said people even in the National Assembly were fingered, were complicit in some of the adversities that we face today. And I recall in one of my conversations with Governor Bello, for example, he had said to me categorically clear that most of the incidents of kidnapping across Nigeria were political. He was very emphatic. Do you share in this position too?
I align completely with the conspiracies, the conspiracy theory, if you like, that largely conflict, banditry, terrorism, and violence in our country is majorly procured. I align with that sentiment. And I align with that sentiment for 3 major reasons. The first is the fact that, Cally, it takes a lot to feed a family of 5. And then you imagine in our historicity and geography where you're told that a certain sect, a certain tendency, a certain group of bandits, the Boko Haram, if you like, kidnapped 200, 300, 400. How do they feed them? Who provides the resources? Where do they keep them? These are fundamental questions, and the answers points to the conspiracy of the high and the mighty. In Nigeria, we have an industry that is largely thriving today, and that's kidnap for ransom. And for as long as you keep those who are your victims in custody, they need food, water, clothing, care. And so someone provides the money. And so when the president talked about the fact that there is a conspiracy of the high and the mighty in the villainy, in the banditry, in the conflict and the crisis that litter the land, I align with that debate. When my friend and brother, Governor Yahya Bello, did say that the reason banditry, violence, and conflict thrives is because there are super powerful forces involved in it. I also agree with it, because the only way, do you know how much one AK-47 costs? Well over 300,000. So who gives these villains as much as 10, 15, 20 AK-47s? Who fuels their cars? Who gives them trucks and automobiles that they use in these operations? Who takes care of the bandits? I think that the time has come, and this is the challenge to government, to ensure that proactively they prize and pride in the primacy of lives, and that they deal effectively with security realities that come with this present challenge. The time has come for governance to be proactive. The time has come for our security agencies to do what is needful, right and right, gather effective information and deal with this problem with our country. Because even except that is done, there's this provable, this phraseology that we all grew up with. When two elephants fight, the grass suffers. Cally, I understand the tragedy that our people are befallen with. I am the elder brother of a young lady who died in the hands of kidnappers, so I know what it means. I know what it is to be bereaved on account of avoidable tragedies. And so the time has come for leadership. And that is why, Cally, if you must know, one of the greatest passions I have in the support of my friend and brother, Yahya Bello, is the fact that Kogi State that was the worst in the north central region in the aspect of security is the safest in the north today and the second safest in the country. He's been able to attempt and attend issues of state security. He's been able to tell the people that the safety and the protection of the human lives in Kogi State is his primary responsibility. And constitutionally, Cally, if you like, the primary responsibility of leadership is the protection of lives and property.
All right, as we grind down, as we grind to a halt now, let's look at MSAS that happened in 2020 and kind of like suggested a paradigm shift is what the people were asking for. Looking back now, does it seem like that was just a storm in a teacup? If not, how well have we done to respond to this issue? 2023 presents supposedly an opportunity for us to show all of that. But it is a two-way thing, the leadership and of course, the young people themselves, the youth. What's your take as we round off?
For me, NSAS was a protestation that taught the world in action, in proactive struggle. NSAS was a protestation that taught the world the philosophy of passive resistance. NSAS was a protestation that you cannot diminish. In NSAS, the Nigerian young people taught the world the beauty of passive resistance. Don't forget that the George Floyd protestation in America cost the loss of lives in several states. There was violence in about 190 cities in America. But in the NSAS protestation, the Nigerian young people taught the world that we could actually gather and challenge for a new deal for our people without violence. Until that, was it the 10th day of that protestation, when certain elements of states procured violence, that protestation was peaceful, high in moral rectitude, high in compartment, high in candor, and high in morality. And so I want to say clearly that what those young people did was to teach the world that in Africa and indeed Nigeria, our young people can ask for a new deal. Cally, the challenge for a new republic come 2023, the challenge that has led to what is called autocracy, the challenge that has led to the mantra called Utoclock, is because those boys in the month of October 2020 stood up asking for a new deal for their nation. So I'm passionately confident that together with a 46-year-old governor who seeks the high office of president, the young people will understand, galvanize rather than agonize, work together and call for a new deal for our country. And Cally, let me make you laugh. Importantly, there is a popular phraseology. Americans will tell you, instead of continuing on the same road, if for anything, to show that we're human beings, it is right to walk another path. We have had in our country certain individuals who have been on a political kaleidoscope, a political amphitheater, a political turf and stadium for 30, 40 years. And they are saying that they want to govern us again come 2023, Cally. For anything logical, the time for our young people to say, no, we're done with your republic. We want to try something new. If we fail in doing that, we'll redo it and we'll rework it. Is now. And that is why some of us who are clear-headed, who are ideological, who are clear-minded are saying the time to support a young man, to try something new and something different is now. Cally, was Albert Einstein who said that it is insanity to attempt to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. I, with all sense of respect, would say to the Tinubus of this world, the best you can do is support a younger person. I would say to those who are undecided as to how to support the progress for a new nation, that the best thing we must do is to support a young man and guide him to ensuring that a new template in leadership, a new thinking in governance, a new tendency in watch is established in our country. The time to make our country great again. The time to change our politics. The time to rework the fabrics of our nation is now. And so I side with, unequivocally, the candidacy of Governor Yahya Bello.
Well, Chris, I think that's a very good point to leave it at this point. I must thank you very much for finding time to oblige me.
The pleasure is profoundly mine.
Thank you very much.
God bless Nigeria.
Well, I've been speaking with Professor Chris Nwaokobia, Mustafa Nwaokobia.
No, the name.
Yes, I got it right. This has been Violence Free World. My name is Cally Ikpe. Same time next week promises much more if you endeavor to be here. But until then, please remember, like we always say, to remain on the road to a violence-free Nigeria. Thank you again for watching.
No more.